Hello everyone and a very warm welcome. In this particular tutorial, let's get started with Power Apps Code Apps. My name is Clavin. I'm a solutions consultant at Nutrient and also a Microsoft MVP. So what is Power Apps Code Apps? Power Apps Code Apps empowers your developers. Yes, you heard it right. Low code is now getting into pro code. But don't worry, my friends, or I can say, don't worry, my low code or no code developers. This is a tutorial which will help you as well. So stay along. So Code Apps lets developers bring Power Apps capabilities into custom web apps and build with the code first IDE. IDE stands for Integrated Development Kits, such as Visual Studio Code, etc. You can develop and run the code apps locally, and once you are happy with it, you can deploy it to Power Platform and your end users can use it. You can select the framework of your choice. You can select React, you can select Vue or others. You can also have full control of your UI and logic because you can tap into the Power Platform connectors and get the data or send the data to the platform of your choice, be it SharePoint, Dataverse, etc. So that being said, I believe everybody can code, so I'm going to start with the mere basics. So code apps require several developer tools. If you're a developer, I hope that you already have all of this in place. But if you are a low-code developer, you need to install Visual Studio Code, which will be your IDE. You need to install Node.js, the latest LTS version. You need to install Git. Now, Git can be optional, but I highly recommend it when you're doing wipe coding, right? This tutorial is going to be about how you can build Power Apps using wipe code. So I would recommend that you have Git because you can get back to a point in time if the AI messes up the code, right? You can get back using AI as well, but I prefer Git because it tells me exactly where I was happy with my code last time. Finally, you need to have Power Apps CLI. Power Apps CLI stands for Power Apps Command Line Interface. It is used to create, manage, deploy apps. And finally, you need to have a license for your end users to use the Power Apps Code Apps. And I think that's pretty much it. Let's get into the demo. So here I am in my admin portal for my Power Platform. I'll click on Manage. And next, what I need to do is select the environment. I'll select my default environment out here and click on Settings. Now that I have clicked on Settings, you will see a whole lot of options on your screen. So here I'll expand the products and then I will click on Features. Then I will scroll down and search for a feature named as Power Apps Code Apps. If you see, the feature is in preview. For this demo, I had already enabled this feature on my particular environment. And I think that's pretty much it when it comes to configuring the portal. Next, I am in my Explorer. I'll click on Show More Options and I have my favorite code editor, Visual Studio Code out here. Yes, I do trust this project. If you don't have a Visual Studio Code editor, you can always download it online. So you just need to Google Visual Studio Code, the first link that comes up, click on it and then download it. Next, what you need to do is you need to download Node, the latest LTS version. Finally, if you want to have version control, you should use Git. This is optional, but it's good to have Git because you're working with code right now. So CI/CD or managing projects is very important. And finally, this is the most important bit. You need to have Power Platform CLI. You need to install the Power Platform CLI code extension. You need to install the Power Platform CLI code extension. So these are the instructions to have the Power Platform tools installed on your computer. Again, it was a prerequisite, so I have already installed it. Click on Manage Extensions, search for Power Platform Tools, and you should see it come up. The first one on your screen is the one you need to install. If you see out here, I have already installed it, so I don't have the install option. But you need to install it if you are doing it for the first time. And I think that's pretty much it when it comes to configuring your environment. So let me quickly open the terminal. So I click on the terminal on the top tab and it should open the terminal window. The first thing that I want to do is check the version of Node installed on this particular machine. So I will type in node-v. V stands for version. If you see, I have got the 22 version of Node installed on my machine. Now that I have the prerequisite and also verified that Node is installed, I will quickly create my Vite project. I'll give it a name, app from scratch, and I'm using the template React-TS. It will ask me the first question. Okay to proceed? I will say yes. So it's asking me for the package name. I leave it default app from scratch. Then it's asking me if I am okay to use the experimental features. I'll say no. What it is doing, it is scaffolding the project, and behind the scene, it's doing an npm install. So here the project has been created. It runs on port 5173 as of now. If I click on this link, you will see that the project has been created and a counter in React is also embedded into this project. This looks like a classic React project, isn't it? Yes. So we have created the project. So let me get into the project folder by doing cd. Cd stands for change directory and I'm in my project. I'm going to do an npm I save dev and install the types. So the first file that we are going to modify, vite.config.ts. In this file, we are going to go ahead and change a few things. In this file, we will change a few things. So I have pasted some code out here. In this code, if you see that we are telling it not to use the default port, but rather use port 3000. We have also changed the path or the alias to .source src. I'm going to say npm run dev. So here you see that the change is visible. Now it's using port 3000 rather than the old port. Next, I want to use my pack commands. So pack commands are installed because I have installed the Power Platform CLI. It helps me with a lot of things. It helps me with admin tasks, it helps me create PCF and much more. In this particular case, we want to configure the OAuth. So the first thing that it does, it prompts me for credentials, right? So I said pack auth create, it prompted me for credentials. I put in my password and sign in. It will ask me for multi-factor authentication. Let me put in this number. And I'm authenticated. If I'm authenticated successfully, I will see no errors. If you are not authenticated, you will see red text in your terminal. But here it tells me that I have authenticated with my profile and there is a public URL out here. I want to actually select a particular environment. So I'm going to type in a command pack env select -env and the URL of the environment. So you see a URL on the screen. Let's verify if this is the URL that we need to provide. So I'm going to go back to the browser and into my Power Platform Admin Center. I'll click on environment and I'll click on this particular environment. If you see, the URL of this particular environment is this. And I'll hit enter. So again, if the command is correct and if the environment URL is correct, I should see, oh, I see red text. No problem. I can see the problem out here. I had fat fingers. Did you see the problem? It failed because I didn't have a T in my select. So let me actually put in select and let me authenticate or let me select this particular environment. Now that I have selected this particular environment, what I'm going to say is I'm going to initialize my code app and give it a display name app from scratch. That's done. That's good. I have installed my Power Platform package or my Power Platform SDK. So now that I have installed my SDK, what I want to do is I want to modify my package.json. It's using Vite. I want it to use my Power Platform CLI to run code as well as Vite. So I modified that under the script block. And let me go ahead and save my file. Now that I have modified my package.json, I want to now configure my project. So I have created a new file and I'm going to go ahead and add some dummy code to see if it has connected correctly. The name of the file is powerprovider.tsx. I want to import this particular file into my main.tsx file. You see that there is an error. Don't worry about the error for now. Let me save the project. It tells me that I have imported but never used it. So let's use it in our project. So I'm going to modify this code and the error goes away. At this point, I will again save my file and I'll do an npm run dev. Now, if you see, it launches a new window and it gives me a URL and it looks like a Power Apps URL. I'll copy this URL and paste it in the same browser profile as I had my admin center. Again, I copied wrongly. I need to put in HTTPS. And here now the same app renders as a Power App. Isn't that awesome? So now that we have configured the Power App, let's add some data connections to it and let us set up the project to do something really good. So the use case that I'm going to take is very simple. I'm going to go ahead and create a connection and pull in M365 user profile data and display it on the Power App. I'll pick up my account, I'll say it's okay to allow access, and the connection should be created. If you see, the connection is created 1 second ago. Now that I have the connection created, I want to reference this particular connection in my project. How can I do that? So I'll go back to my terminal, do a Control C, and try to find the connections that are there in my environment. So if you see, I just did pack connection list. It gives me a list of connections out here. A lot of connections, to be honest. You will have a few if you have a demo environment, but this is my test environment, so I'm doing a lot of tests. You might have a lot of connections as well. But don't be confused. Here I see that I want to have Office 365 user connection. I just have one Office 365 user connection. So I'll copy in the ID and I'll type in pack code and I'll say add a data source. So add dash data dash source, give it a connection name and give it a connection ID. And I'll hit enter. So it tells me that the request failed. So something wrong. So something is not right when I'm trying to do this particular connection request, right? Or trying to add this data source. So I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I'm passing a wrong parameter when I'm trying to connect to this data source. So let me quickly read up the documentation. Okay, it seems that you don't have to reference shared dash Office 365 user. You just need to pass in the ID. And I'll hit enter. Fingers crossed. Okay, it works. It added this connection to my project. Okay. So now I'm going to put in my Vibe Coder hat. I already have GitHub Copilot configured in my Visual Studio. If you don't have it configured, I'll leave the link on how to configure it in the description below. So now let me start vibe coding. Now, if you have heard about vibe coding, there's something known as prompt engineering. The more descriptive your prompt is, the better the agent will understand and create the code for you. So on my another screen, I'm actually trying to author a prompt. I should have done it before the demo, but I didn't do it. Sorry for that. So please bear with me and let me put in the prompt out here. So this is my prompt. The prompt is very basic. It will ask the GitHub Copilot to build a Canvas app called as My Card Info, and I told it to use the Office 365 user connection, and I need it to display the name, the email, the phone number, job title, and the profile picture. So GitHub Copilot in the agent mode. I'll again repeat, I'm using it in the agent mode, so it will do its thing and it will start writing code for us. I don't want you to go ahead and wait, so I'm going to edit this section, only show you when I get stuck or when the Copilot gets stuck. So after going back and forth and prompting it for another 2 minutes, it seems that now my project doesn't have any errors. So I'll go back into my Power Apps and paste this URL. And it renders the card. But here if you see that my profile image is not rendering. How can I troubleshoot this? The easiest way for these problems is to inspect the console tab. And it seems that I am getting a few errors related to 403. So after prompting it for another few minutes and actually looking at the console logs and trying to find out what is wrong and also reading a bit of code, I think we have made decent progress. I'll again repeat, it took me around 5 minutes since I had paused the video. To be exact, 4 minutes and 38 seconds was on my timer. So here I will refresh, and at this point, if you see that the image is rendering, so voila, I didn't have to spend like hours. The total time that I think that I spent was around 15 minutes, but you might not see the whole 15 minutes in the video. But it created this particular project for me. So I'm happy with my code. Next, what I want to do is I want to actually deploy this to Power Apps. So I'm going to do an npm run build and I'll say pack code push. Okay, it tells me that the dist folder is not found. So always remember, when you compile the code, there is a dist folder that gets created in your project. So I'll just hit npm run build. Here it gives me more context of the problem. It tells me that in this file, I have got React, which has been declared but never being used. So let me actually copy this and give it to Copilot and ask it to fix it. So if you see, I'm focusing on a particular file as well, which is like my card, my infocard.tsx, and here it tells me, should I fix it? I say yes, it has been fixed. So what it did is that it removed that particular line of code. I again do an npm run build, and this time I see no errors and I see the dist folder. So at this time, I'll use the Power Platform CLI and say pack code push. Okay, I see exceptions and red, not good. So let me look at the error message. So it's trying to save the app, but here it finds that there is an app with the same name. Okay, that means that previously when I tested this before doing this video, I actually have an app with the same name. So let me go into my Power Platform portal, go to the apps, and yes, I have an app with the same name. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this app. The app is deleted, and let's try to redeploy it. So I'll use the same command, pack code push. And let's see if it gets deployed. So it's on saving, no red, that's good. It gave me a Power Apps URL as well. If you see, it's not given me a localhost URL. So let's go into the Makers portal, refresh it, and try to see the Power Apps. So here, the Power Apps is visible. And it tells me, do I want to allow this connection? Yes, I want. And it's trying to load the info. Hopefully it loads. Perfect. So here, my friends, you have created your first Power Apps code app. Isn't that awesome? Did I tell you about how to do it in React? No. All I told you is how to give a prompt and troubleshoot if you get an error. And that's the beauty of Kawaii coding. So now that we have built the code apps, let's look at the limitations. So the first limitation is that if you're using content security policy, CSP, this is not supported. If you're using storage, shared access signature or SAS, an IP restriction, not supported yet. One thing very important before we get further with the limitations, I would not recommend that you use the Power Apps code apps in production yet because it's in preview. Preview features are good for proof of concept, showing the business what's coming in the future, but not using it in production. So the next thing that it does not support, if you are using Power Platform Git integration, it's not supported. I use Git or GitHub directly with my Power Apps code apps to manage the code. Next, code apps don't have Power Platform native integration with Azure Insights. So if you are planning to get insights about your apps, that's not going to go ahead and fly. If you also cannot monitor them because you don't have Azure Insights. Finally, code apps aren't supported in mobile apps. Yes, you heard it right. This is a big one. If you are a mobile heavy company or if you're using iPads or tablets, it isn't going to work. It's also not supported in Windows app. So take a note of it. Finally, code apps are not yet supported in Power BI integrations. Okay, they don't support it yet. And it's going to take some time for complete migration if it ever happens. I'll again repeat, if it ever happens. Microsoft might just leave PCF as is and also go ahead and develop code apps, get it out of preview, see what's the feedback, and then maybe they think about it. But PCF is still in the game. So if you're building PCF, please continue building it. You already know that there are some limitations with Power Apps code apps, but PCF is still valid. If Microsoft plans to deprecate it, they will give us a migration path, hopefully, and they will also let us know how PCF can be changed in your existing Power Apps, not code apps, Power Apps, because PCF is in Power Apps where a developer creates a code component and then a citizen developer uses it in their project. So I will leave it at that. Is it the end of PCF? No. If you're developing PCF in between development, please continue. So with that, I would say thank you. The learning resources are on your screen. You can go to learn.microsoft.com, Power Apps, Developers, Code Apps. At Nutrient, we also support code apps. If you're looking for anything related to document conversion, manipulation, let us know. We are more than happy to assist you with your requirement. If you have any questions, drop me an email at clavin.fernandes@nutrient.io or nutrient.io/contact sales. Have a great day. Bye bye.